Happy Thanksgiving! We hope you are home enjoying the holidays and enjoying a little bit of entertainment from us. I'm Roth Cornet, Spencer Gilbert.
Yeah, I hope you're avoiding your family and hang out with us.
Yeah, I know I am. Dan Murrell.
Yes, to all of you that are surreptitiously listening to this at the Thanksgiving dinner table, pass the gravy.
Yeah, Joe Starr.
Yeah,
what are you doing today?
Hide from your cousins and just chill out in the basement with us.
Yeah.
The cool kids.
Yeah. My life is such a miasma of nothingness that I'm watching myself this Thanksgiving. That's how sad that is.
He's going to rewatch all those SJUs.
Just full-face pumpkin pie, eating those feelings. Happy Thanksgiving! We're going to talk about things that we are grateful for in the movie and television and entertainment universe. Now, this was left very open, which is a thing that always makes me nervous. So I made them all go first.
Oh.
And then they took all of my things. And so this is what I was left with.
We took all of your thanks.
Spencer, what are you grateful for?
Death.
Good.
Grateful for death, but one thing in particular, and that is the death of seemingly 3D movies.
Oh, great. I truly didn't know where you were going.
I feel like 3D movies, well, all of mine have a theme, and it is the loss of life. So 3D movies they were such a big thing with Avatar, and they seem to have been petering out. The revenues are down, the popularity of them is down. John Wick 2 and Logan were released without the crappy post-converted 3D treatment that just gives me a headache. I don't like it. It's more expensive. If the movie wasn't shot that way, it usually doesn't look good that way. Yes, Roth?
Were you being forced to watch 3D movies? This is a legitimate question.
Not forced, but there were a lot of times like, well, the showtime's like, oh, it's playing at the 3D version at the time I want to see it.
Okay. Yeah.
But not, there are fewer 2D showings, so I would end up with like that's me in a 3D movie. I'm grateful that they seem to be on the way out. I realize Avatar 2 is going to bring them back in a big way, so let's just appreciate this brief lull.
What else are you grateful for?
Oh, should we all do one and then?
Do one.
Yeah,
do,
I don't
that's
want
good
to
hosting.
monopolize the whole first 15 minutes of the video.
Co-pilot. What do you got, Dan?
Mine has a theme too. These are all things that I find delightful for the holidays, for Thanksgiving. And my first one is just Jeff Goldblum. Yeah. Jeff Goldblum is awesome. I have a clip of him in Thor that I brought. And it's just, you watch this clip and you're like, I love Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Let's watch Jeff Goldblum do his thing.
Time works real different around these parts. On any other world, I'd be like millions of years old. But here on Sakaar,
Jeff Goldblum. I mean, he's just...
Expect the unexpected.
He's one of a kind. I've never seen Jeff Goldblum do anything, particularly in the last 5 years, on Portlandia or in Thor, or he plays jazz at a bar in LA.
Yep.
Like, he just seems to be a guy who has a lot of fun, and he's just himself.
Even his apartment.com commercials are kind of great.
Have you guys
Jeff
seen
Goldblum.
him play? Have you gone to see him play here in
I
Los
haven't.
Angeles?
It's on my list of things to do.
Have you?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It's excellent. He knows his role there is to be more of like an accompanist. He's just kind of like vamping on the keyboards while other people sing and do solos and stuff like that. But he does interject with some classic Goldblumisms in between songs.
Speaking of role, the time that I've seen him is shopping for sushi at Bristol Farms. And it was one of those weird things where I just saw him. And then I was like, oh, I should not look at him. He's Jeff Goldblum and he's just trying to get a sushi at Bristol Farms. And I don't want to be weird about it. And then I ended up...
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. What did you do to
What
Jeff
did you do?
Goldblum, Roth?
It's not that funny.
Oh, yeah.
It's not gonna...
Rainbow rolls.
We lost it.
Yes.
I will say that when you see him
not gonna
perform,
pay off, but literally every time I turned a corner in my entire shopping experience of a half hour, Jeff Goldblum was there, and I entirely think he called the police and thought I was his stalker.
Yes.
What's your thing you're grateful for?
well, I was gonna say when you do see him perform, because he vamps and supports, but it is all pure Goldblum sounds. My friend Ruby sang with him, and it was just nothing from him but that's
It's not an act.
Oh, it's
He
so
seems
good.
like a very friendly, affable guy who enjoys a California roll. And who every time I turned the corner ran into him, I went like this, like, I'm not stalking you, which then he would go, because it was very clear that I was stalking him.
Yes.
I am grateful for the fact that we can edit this video. And I am grateful for, and this is something a lot of you guys talked about as well, we're basically in the golden age of television, which is awesome. And I think one of the things that we've seen over the last number of years of television is that a lot of the character work that you may have seen previously in films that were more mid-range films is being done on television. But the thing that I'm especially grateful for is that a lot of the TV shows that we're seeing have taken more of the British model of they don't necessarily have to go on endlessly like the network shows did for 22 episodes a season for 10 years. They can be concise stories. They can be the stories they need to be. They can be anthology stories. So we get things like Breaking Bad. And the great thing about Breaking Bad also that has to do with sort of the change in technology is that because people were able to catch the ratings were relatively low at first on that show, but because people were able to catch up, the ratings then went up, and it sort of set a precedent for even if something's not a hit necessarily out of the gate, there could be the opportunity for a show to grow a viewership over time. This is one of the greatest shows I think of all time, but we see a lot of shows like Breaking Bad that are wonderful. And Joe, you have two of my favorites, so I'm going to kick to you on your list.
We're doing mine out of order, JTE. So one of the television creators that I'm thankful for is Noah Hawley. I love Fargo. Really loved Legion. The idea of a guy doing a really trippy superhero show without like a superhero show budget was just really cool to me. I think like the CW superhero shows and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they try to do some really cool things, but the things that they do are hardcore constrained by budget. So I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to space this season, and unfortunately the first thing that I think of when I see clips from that is I'm not like, oh cool, they're going to space. I'm like, oh, that is some TV budget space. But Noah Hawley with Legion has just been very creative with his effects and his take on the show, and has been able to do so much with so little with that show. And then Fargo is an incredible anthology series. Ewan McGregor was incredible in the last season. I have yet to even have an episode of Fargo that I was like, next. It's just fantastic television.
It's one of the greatest shows. That's truly one of the greatest shows of all
Yeah,
time.
the thing about these anthologies is because it's only a commitment to like 1 or 2 seasons, you're getting movie stars like Big Little Lies and Fargo and stuff like that. You're getting people who would have never do a television show commit to doing that. Something funny, Dan? Yes. Something funny about that?
Because when you said Big Little Lies, Pretty Little Liars, I confused it in my head. I'm like, what movie star is it? Pretty Little Liars? Isn't that show over?
Fargo, the first season of Fargo, I interviewed Billy Bob Thornton for it at the Television Critics Association. That's before it aired, and it was one of those shows that we were really skeptical about.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna do Fargo? Come on! And then you see it, and it's so incredible. And that's what he said. He was like, "I'm doing this because I cannot do this kind of character work really in film anymore," and that's kind of a sad thing. However, I think we are seeing that change just a little bit. What's your second thing?
My second thing, continuing the theme of death, is let the old guard die of science fiction directors and let us replace them with new blood. I am grateful for this new crop of science fiction directors. They're not new, but they're now like ascendant. Let's Spielberg,
first?
Cameron, Ridley. What's that?
That was good. That was good. So were they divergent first?
Oh yeah, totally. The Spielberg, Ridley, Cameron, they've had their day in the sun. They probably still have a couple movies left in the tank, but I want to see more out of Denis Villeneuve of Arrival and Blade Runner. I want to see more Bong Joon-ho of Snowpiercer and Okja.
Yep.
And I want to
love
see
that.
more Alex Garland of Ex Machina and Annihilation. I think it's time we got there aren't many directors in their 40s, I guess, who are like, they're not the young things, they're not the old guard, they're like these new people hitting their prime. And it's these 3 that I'm the most excited about for the future of genre filmmaking.
And it was that list that I was most resentful of because it was 3 of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Those directors are so. Science fiction is Dan. This is your beloved genre, mine as well.
Sure.
And yeah, those are the 3 grades. What are you grateful for?
Again, this is just something I find delightful. We don't have to play the audio because I know it's got music in it and I don't want to get us flagged. But it's this clip from Stranger Things. You can just show the audio, the video while we talk, of Sheriff Hopper dancing to Jim Croce. And I mean, it's a bad situation, and the guy's just like, you know what? This is the music my dad made me listen to.
Yep.
I'm just gonna that's how I dance. I dance like that, and I don't know. He's feeling it.
Feels it.
He feels it. The rhythm is in his bones. It's just like that's how real people dance, and it's just a delight. I love that part of the show. When that part, I was smiling. I smile every time I see it. It's a GIF. I smile when I see the GIF. I love it. I just find it very delightful.
I could watch a season of that show where there are no external upside down threats, and it's just the kids playing D&D and hanging out with Hopper and learning more hair care tips from Steve and riding bikes, and I'd be completely fine with that season.
Yeah.
I could watch a season of watching Dan dance like that. Dancing with the
you really missed it on
Dans.
camera. Oh,
Dancing
Billy,
with
do
the
you want to come do
Dans,
the
yeah.
Hopper snap?
Come on, Hopper.
Come on.
My birthday's tomorrow. Come on, Hopper.
Don't humiliate Billy. Don't humiliate Billy.
Suffered enough.
Come on.
You want to be a GIF or not?
You want to be a gift man?
He's going to put us out of business.
In this big thing about upside down universes and mind flayers and supernatural things, that there's room for a guy who just likes
Chicago
Jim
street
Croce.
toughs.
Yeah.
He just digs Jim Croce, and let's just appreciate that for a moment.
Little things.
Loved it.
As Footloose so wisely said, there is a time to dance.
There is.
What's the thing I'm thankful for? It's on Netflix. Hey, you bored with TV? Netflix has a crap load of really weird imported TV shows from Japan, and they're insane. This is the poster for Blazing Transfer Student, a live-action adaptation of a really old
Stand and
manga.
deliver. Oh.
Yeah, a really old Stand and Deliver. It's just batshit like absurd comedy.
These kids.
It's so like one of the villains at one point turns out to be the author of the original book, who has it out for these characters because he doesn't feel like they're honoring the source material. It's really just meta and weird and super fun. Yeah, there's Good Morning Call was the weird show I was obsessed with while we were still doing Flash and Friends. Watch a bunch of weird Japanese television on Netflix. It's fun.
Call to action. I am grateful for this. We've been talking about how we're not really seeing a lot of mid-level films, and it's losing some character work. But what we are seeing is films that are made for very modest budgets,
Yes.
particularly in the last couple of years, that do very well. Get Out is one. So I'm grateful that the Blumhouse model is working for some films that are, look, I like, the Insidious, but that really have something to say. Like two of my favorites in the last decade, which is Get Out and Whiplash. Both of those, using that model, did very well. Certainly Get Out, huge numbers, but Whiplash was also a very relatively small film. This was Damien Chazelle, and I'm happy that we get more interesting films. And I was starting to get afraid that all we were going to do is have a sea of blockbusters and one or two very rarely seen independent films was the model that we looked like we were heading towards. So I hope that's actually changing, and I'm grateful for that.
Yes. I love Whiplash.
Thanks, Jason Blum.
One of my favorite movies.
Yes.
Which one? Get Out?
Both.
Both in Whiplash.
Well,
Whiplash is so great.
I love Whiplash. I need to
That's
rewatch
so
it.
good. Yeah,
It's really
it really
good.
is. Was I rushing or dragging?
Neither.
No.
Oh, good.
That was
on
just
tempo.
that was my tempo.
Right on
Good
tempo.
job.
Does it go back to Spencer?
Yeah, I think I'm up.
Spencer goes first.
All right. My third one celebrates death in a very literal way. This was a movie trailer I saw.
Somebody gonna die right now?
Probably. It's something I saw this very morning and was just so grateful that this exists. They've made a movie. We can just start rolling it. They made a movie entirely out of Russian dashcam footage. Called the Road Movie. Of just like, somewhere between Jackass and Faces of Death. So
What?
this is, if you don't know, like America is a hellscape, but Russia really puts it to shame to the point where there is no law. So everybody like puts a camera in their car so that they can like have a record of the crimes committed against them every single day, and it's just. Apparently, it works feature length of just the most insane
range of
road
movie
things.
violations.
Hey, he's fine. See,
In every sense of the phrase.
I just can't wait to see this. I think it's going to be nuts because I love these things on YouTube, so I can't imagine if the ones made for the big screen. Oh, he says we're sailing right now. We are sailing.
What's that guy doing?
What's that guy doing? Indeed, I think that reality in Russia.
Is that an axe?
That's a bear.
And that's a bear?
It trumps anything that we can actually think of in fiction. So that's my third thing I'm grateful for is The Road movie coming soon to a theater near you.
We failed because this really needed to go last. Like there's just not going to be anything that we have to offer.
It's happening.
What are they?
It's Russia, man. It's Russia. Oh,
I
there's a
remember that
falling
one.
meteor
Yeah,
right there.
the meteor.
Ooh,
I've seen a lot of
World-class
these.
stupidity.
macho belligerence.
Guns.
Whoa.
Whoa!
Whoa.
Are you?
A huge dog.
And they were doing
There's actually
it with each
two
other.
dogs making one dog.
Is that a tank?
Yeah, they're washing their tank. That guy's going for a ride, trying to headbutt the window out. Some viral entertainment can sustain feature length. And, this is also the movie I'm going to pitch to Blumhouse, which was the movie I was going to shoot entirely on my Prius backup camera. Oh, yeah. So this is also, if this works as a proof of concept, I can get
doing it.
the backup cam movie.
Dude.
That's amazing.
There's this video. I hate when people throw stuff out of there. Like, litter bugs bother me. It's my pet peeve. Like, I have had massive arguments with friends about, we will wait here until you pick it up. And so I hate when people throw stuff out of their car. And there's a video in Russia of this woman that's on a motorcycle, and she will just drive up to people and throw their trash back at them.
Awesome.
And I'm hoping that makes an appearance in this film.
Yeah.
There's a little moment of music that I was the only one that had my headphones on. I'm the only one that heard it. Me and the audience at home. And, my final one, again, delightful. It is also an imported show available on Netflix. And for a myriad of reasons, 2017, not the best year for me personally. In some ways. In some ways, it's great. In some ways, not so great.
We're thankful it didn't suck harder.
There is a show on Netflix called it is called The Great British Baking Show.
Oh, yeah.
In the UK, it is called The Great British Bake Off. Mm-hmm. It is like Valium for your soul. Like, you can't. You can just roll the footage underneath me talking. You can't not just be happy watching this show. It's all of these people baking. This is the most stressful moment of their lives, but they're just delightfully British, and they take everything with good nature and good humor. And
very sweet.
This entire 7-hour long baking project will completely fall apart, and they'll get eliminated from the show. And in this country where that would be swearing and yelling, it's just. That didn't quite work out for me. But I enjoyed the experience. It was very much fun, and made some great friends, and jolly good. And on to the next thing. It's just this was the original crew. They're not. A lot of them aren't there anymore, and it's just delightful. That's Mary Berry. She has a word called scrummy that she made up. I think that's incredible. It's my favorite new adjectives.
What does it mean?
It's delicious, like scrummy.
Scrummy.
She'll eat a little cake. She's like, she'll eat it, and the other thing is they eat them, and you just kind of watch them go like, oh, that's scrummy. It's just delightful, and everyone on it is nice.
They're all very supportive of each other.
They're in a big white tent outside, and sometimes it's rainy, sometimes it's a beautiful day.
It's a lot of puddings. Scrummy
Puddings, some
puddings.
things I've never heard of. A lot of sheet cake. Lot of sheet cake.
Blood sausage.
Another nice thing about British Bake Off is once you've watched the whole thing through once, then you do your second watch through and play the meta game of, because they're just out in a park basically with this tent, there's just people walking around in the background. And now you start your meta game of what's going on back there. Yeah. Because sometimes there's just weird it follows shots while people are baking of just some guy who's just slowly walking towards them. And sometimes there's this sheep having fun.
This aired like 5 years ago, by the way. Like the people in the UK are watching this, going like, "Yeah, we saw this 5 years ago." Like it'd be like if one of us was saying like, "I just discovered this show called House." Not quite as extreme, but
diners, drive-ins,
It's a
and
really
dives.
interesting parallel, though.
It's just
Everything
we
about
just
this
feel
show
good.
is nice. Like the hosts, apparently, if a contestant does have a breakdown or is really upset or crying a lot, the hosts stand on either side of them and just cuss a lot so they can't use the footage.
Yeah.
Like it's the nicest.
That
yeah,
is-
it's the
so that's
sweetest
like-
One of the
show.
judges' name is Paul Hollywood, and I don't hate him because I legitimately don't. I think his name is the British version of Hollywood. It's like Hollywood. I haven't seen the new version with like the new hosts and judges. I don't know if it's as good. I can't imagine that it would be. There's only like 4 seasons or series that you can watch here on the U.S. Netflix. But if you just want to feel good, go on Netflix and watch the great British baking show. That's the U.S. title.
Is it all desserts?
Yes.
It's all-
sometimes
some
it's-
savory
it's
stuff.
got
Some
some stuff,
savory,
but
yeah, it leans toward desserts.
There's some
Leaning
breads,
towards
but yeah.
Some breads, some
puddings.
puddings, yeah. But the showpieces generally are the desserts,
Okay.
and they look
Scrumptious.
It's very scrummy.
scrummy.
Quite
Oh,
scrummy.
that sounds delightful. And that is a method that is the opposite of our reality TV, in which they encourage each other to tear
Well,
hair.
yeah, but
If
let's be
you
real. This
never-
country also produced Gordon Ramsay and Simon Cowell. So
But watch the Gordon Ramsay British version of Kitchen Nightmares, and you will see what America does to these people. Because the Gordon Ramsay version of Kitchen Nightmares is he's still Gordon Ramsay and he like screams at people, but it's because their kitchen is not. And he's like at the end of the show, they're like, thank you for helping me. There's hugs. He's like, damn, I really want this restaurant to be great. Oh, I just want this to be great. And this has real potential. And like everyone is like it's all about, it's uplifting. And it's like, and then the US version is just like all bleeping and that sound, whatever the hell that thing is that they play every 10 seconds. And it just shows you what the US does to these people, because the British version of Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay is a great, uplifting, positive show. And the US version is just, let's find a bunch of crazy people and bleep out a bunch of stuff. And it's not even close to as good.
There's also there is some food. There's always some food involved. We have a nice reality TV show in The Voice. Joe and I watched that. This is a side note. Yeah. And I'm currently narrowing in on who I'm rooting for this season. So it's very, very exciting news.
But this is in the future,
only
so we don't know
myself.
even who's there here in the future.
It's Team Addison. Addison's sick. She's kind of amazing. You know what I'm grateful for?
What's that, Rob?
Yeah, streaming services. Here's why. Controversial stance. These are the places. Look, this has changed the shape of entertainment in ways that are just a bunch of streaming services. Wow,
Nice.
that's a nice thing.
where's Crackle?
Thank you for the graphic. This has changed the face of entertainment in a number of ways, and we're going to be in a negotiation process with that over the years. But one of the things that's available is finding smaller films. It's much easier to do that now, and we're so fortunate and just in such a fortunate position to be in a city where these films were probably released in theaters. We get access to them anyway via our jobs. However, now they're available to so many more people, and you have things that people never would have seen, like a Tangerine, for example, which then became very. Did you love Tangerine?
I did.
Yeah, that became very, very popular, and then he gets a second film out of it, and now he's got a career that's building, and so.
And they're directly financing films and documentaries,
Yeah.
and limited series and
Limited
stuff like
series. So we're getting such. It's sometimes hard to weed through it all, which is technically, I guess, why we exist. Watch Tangerine, for example. But I'm so grateful that people have access to not only and via like Filmstruck. Alicia Madame plug is you can have classic films as well, and there's just so much more opportunity out there. That's it. That's my
Yes,
gratitude.
I like it.
It
Yeah.
is great. Although I can only imagine what it would be like to work on something that's on a streaming service that would be very difficult for people to find.
We did a thing. Someone watch The Thing, please.
that. Yeah.
Mad Max was a great movie. I also love that. Moving us along.
That was a good seg. Mine is also still leaning into streaming services to sort of is about a specific thing on Hulu to sort of echo Dan. It's been a rough one, and sometimes you just need some calm and some quiet, and you just need to be able to relax, and you need something that you don't really have to pay attention to, and Hulu is a fantastic destination for that. There are so many things that I don't have to pay attention to on Hulu. There's The Voice, there's Shark Tank, there's Dr. Pole, which is about a farm vet from
Pole.
Pol. He's I think he's Polish. I can't remember. But it's just all these just very calm, relaxing shows. You don't really have to pay attention to them. You just put them on and you watch this sweet old European man talk about caring for dogs. And
you know what they also have on Hulu or maybe also Netflix is just like a 4-hour loop of a fireplace.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
true.
Yeah, I love
For the holidays,
fireplace.
throw that.
Yeah.
You don't have a chimney.
Yeah.
Who
Oh,
are
yeah.
you? You
Yeah.
just throw on that.
They have different fun
Who are you?
variations on it too.
You
Yeah.
You don't have a chimney.
If you have the
Let's
time
get real.
and you want to smile a lot, you mentioned Shark Tank. Go back and find Shark Tank episodes where people bring in animals, dogs in particular. Watch Robert Hershkovich and watch how delighted he is by every time someone brings in a dog, he just immediately takes the dog from whomever is brought in and stops listening. And every time they cut it, it's like 4 sharks writing in their books, and it's Robert going like, he loves animals.
We watched one last night where the presenters had their baby because it was like a baby thing that they were pitching, and they're like, now it's time to give you guys samples. And she walked over with like her 10-month-old child and the sample, and he just took the baby and just held the baby while everyone else was like, oh, I like the structure of this. It's really ingenious. And he's just like,
It's like
it's
4
great.
billionaires and one fluffy-haired gentleman who just loves adorable things.
Oh, we love adorable things too. Actually, that's my entire reaction anytime I see someone's dog. I have no boundaries, and I will take your dog. That's how I got my porg. I took it from Max, and that was that.
If you like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, go on YouTube and look up Rachel Bloom's song, I Steal Pets. Very funny and applicable to Roth.
That's another great one. Crazy
Yeah.
Ex-Girlfriend is so good.
Although, you guys see this week?
No. Is
Never
it
mind.
not good? Is it weird?
I'll tell you later.
Does it go to a dark place?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
Looking forward to that. I threw out Mad Max, but I do want to say, here's what I did love about Fury Road. Everything.
Sure.
But what I really loved about it was that it was such an exercise in how to tell a story through the tools of cinema. There is such a sparse use of dialogue in that movie. If you look at how the main characters are introduced, they say nothing for the first several minutes, and it's all characters completely revealed in their actions. You guys were more funny than me on this episode, but I was here. So thanks for joining us, and happy Thanksgiving. Every time Dan says delightful, if you watch this again, which I know you will,
Take a shot.
take a bite of something delicious
Delightful.
and that delights you. You guys delight me. I'm grateful for these humans.
You're
and those
welcome.
humans
Likewise.
off screen. Billy, come dance. Okay, thanks for joining us today.
Bye.
Click here for more awesome Screen Junkies news and click the logo to subscribe.